Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. This is Dr. Andrew Rimby, and welcome to our first ever ITBR Rewatches Smash the NBC TV show. I'm really excited because I'm hosting the Queer as Folk one, and I had Christian Garcia on the premiere episode of Queer as Folk, but I'm handing the reins to him with Smash. I will be on as many of these episodes as possible because I love an excuse to rewatch this iconic Broadway musical TV show. So Christian Garcia is hosting Smash, the rewatch show. So I want to, bring you on, Christian, and just share your enthusiasm and excitement for this new series.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much for allowing me to take the reins on this one for a few minutes of your for a few seconds. Yes, this show has meant so much to me, and I cannot wait to discuss this with you and as many other guests as we can possibly get. I'm so excited. I'm so thrilled to be doing this, and thank you for this amazing opportunity. And thank you for being a part of this.
Of course. So, why did you want to rewatch Smash? Like, what was the impetus?
This just happened to me over the course of like a millisecond. I was just thinking about the show and I said to myself, I said, there's not a lot of Smash rewatch podcasts.
Hmm.
Moreover, there's no podcast about the show Smash. So I said, you know what? What if I brought this over to Andrew? What would he say? And thankfully, you were so enthusiastic, and you've gotten me in touch with so many great and wonderful people so far. And I cannot wait for the continued contributions of many other people. And I just can't wait to get this ball rolling. And to have you on as the first guest is amazing.
Well, I'm so honored. And I think before we even dig into Smash, so it came out in 2012,
Yes,
February. So 2012,
my
I
birthday
was,
month.
oh, okay. Your birthday's in February. Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations for a very early birthday here, Christian.
Yes.
Uh, so it
Don't
came out
remind
in
me.
the winter time,
Yes.
and 2012 I was in undergrad. Um,
I
because
was a
I
senior in
graduated.
high school.
Okay, so you were a senior. I was in my yeah, had just finished my first year in college. And then okay, that makes sense because I graduated in 2014, but I did college in 3 years. But that's for another discussion. So I do remember when Smash came out because I did watch it. So did you watch it when it premiered?
I did. I remember recording every single one of them. I think we either had TiVo or we had another cable box, and I just remember or Verizon, and I just remembered recording each and every episode and just watching them and then rewatching them for the same episode for like getting myself ready for the next week's episode and just being enthralled by this show. This was like my adult Glee TV show growing up.
Yeah. So it's almost into 12 years. In this
Yeah.
this February, it'll be 12 years.
Yes. Can
Um,
you believe it?
yeah, but I feel like it's very different than Queer as Folk in the sense that it's pretty distantly connected to us still, that, Queer as Folk is 23 years.
Yep.
So like the way that technology is hasn't changed too much since Smash. I mean, they have headphones. Now we have like wireless headphones, but things are pretty much the fabric is similar. What I do want to ask you right away is how much do you know about the backstory of Smash? Like how this came to be?
I, if I could speak honestly, I don't know that much about the backstory of the whole show entirely. Um, I just remember just loving the show and not really thinking about the behind the scenes workings of the making of this show in general. But it's something that I'd really love to discuss as well and research.
Yeah. So I feel like every time that, you have a guest on or I'm here, everyone's going to be bringing their own knowledge. And
Yes.
I'll tease for you all out there. I'm connected with so many past guests on Ivory Tower Boiler Room who have been interviewed who are in the Broadway industry. Christian's going to have them on. Our favorite Elizabeth Winder, Marilyn Monroe expert, she'll be on. So this is a Marilyn Monroe extravaganza. If you don't know, that's the musical that they're putting on, is this new production of Marilyn Monroe. But there is a little backstory. I just wanted to mention this because as I was researching, knowing that I was going to be with you on this premiere episode, there's this behind the scenes sneak peek when you go on to watch Smash. Christian sent me the free version. I think we can say on Fandango's Voodoo. It's like
Yes.
they're it's all out there for free, so everyone can watch it along with us for free. But there is a behind the scenes preview that's 7 minutes, and I forgot that, or maybe I didn't even know that Steven Spielberg executive produced
I did
this.
not know that either. When you sent me that video, I was just very amazed. And I guess that's kind of what makes the show timeless is that Steven Spielberg, who basically directed our childhood in
Mm-hmm.
a way, he was a part of this show. And I believe that's one of the reasons why I think now it's so timeless. And that's why I think it's a really good time to just revisit it. But please continue on.
No, and it's also based on a novel by Garson Kanin called Smash. That's what I didn't
Oh,
know. This is actually from like a 1970s novel, the premise, except the novel's about the author was in the production team of Funny Girl with Barbara Streisand. So in the 1960s. So he writes this novel called Smash about a vaudeville singer. I haven't read the novel yet. I am getting my hands on it. It's hard to find, but I think I can get it through my library, through other Long Island libraries. And the connection, it's not that they're putting on a Marilyn Monroe musical, but they're putting on this new production, and it's all the behind the scenes of Broadway and the cat fights, the gossip, the hitting people against each other, the lyricist team with the composer. So those characters are where they draw inspiration from. It's just the backstage musical aspect. Yeah. So Smash is the novel, if anyone out there wants to read it.
I'm going to try to get my hands on that too. I never knew that that was a novel in
Yeah.
itself.
So what, like right away, we have our pilot, and it's just called the pilot episode.
Yep.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but what made Smash so iconic, in my opinion, and what makes it still so iconic is it's the first TV show or really film. I mean, it's not a film, but I haven't really seen another film or TV show that really delves in the behind the scenes of Broadway and how to put on a production.
Mm-hmm.
Like we get that about Hollywood all the time. There's a lot of like the behind the scenes of making a movie. Like La La Land is a good example. I mean,
Yes.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I could probably list a litany right now for everyone. But in terms of Broadway, there really isn't that much TV and film representation about the behind the scenes.
There's not. I mean, you get a lot of like Broadway.com. They do these vlogs from I've seen a few past from Wicked or Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella when Laura Osnes did like a behind the scenes vlog, which I love to revisit from time and time again because it immerses me into that Broadway world. And Smash also does that as well. It does that in a much more visceral way, and it does it in a much more eye pleasing way where you're in the city and you feel like you're there with these characters. And that is what I think is the basis of the show, is to just show you what it can be like to work in a behind the scenes, show you what a workshop looks like, show you what the producers have to deal with, how to direct a show, how to get a director, how to get a producer to be a part of the show.
Yeah.
It's just all those, and that's what I love about this show, is that it
Yeah, you
shows you
need
those
the
behind the scenes aspects.
you need the Angelica Houston character who's a
Oh boy.
financial
And you've
investor.
seen
You
this
need
wig. It just
many
reminds me of the
financial.
Grand High Witch wig that she's sporting
No, I know.
a
I was
little
like,
bit.
she basically is reprising her Grand High Witch role before the Broadway stage.
It
I love Angelica Houston.
I do
But
too.
and I think though Smash, definitely speaks to Fame, the movie, and then Fame was a really popular 1980s TV show with Debbie Allen, and like that's how Debbie Allen really
Yes.
became known. Um, and after Fame, though, like Smash to me is also in line with Center Stage, what Center Stage did for the ballet community. That's a big ballet movie. They're
Ooh.
all at basically American Ballet Theater, but they don't call it the American Ballet Theater.
Oh.
Um, and they're all teenagers who are training. And so it has that similar New York City feel. But okay, so what's I love is Christian Borle says in the sneak peek that all of the drama is happening behind the curtain. Like again, I always say when I teach the Broadway musical, I love backstage musicals or backstage meta, like the world within the world. So Dreamgirls, chorus line. I mean, a chorus line is the number one that comes to, I think, really ignited backstage musicals. Um, we also have Noises Off as a play. I really like that. Um, I just like when the actors peel back their layers and you see them putting on the production. Kiss Me Kate does that. Um, yeah, there's so many. But what did you think, Christian, of just rewatching the pilot? Your like first impressions?
When I rewatched it, I felt like I was in a time capsule because not that many shows actually are able to feel as if they're in a certain time.
Mhm.
And nowadays it's all very COVID-esque and it's very political. And with this show, it brings you back to a time when those things were non-existent. And I think it's one of the reasons why I enjoyed it so much while rewatching it. It brought me back to a time where I didn't have a care in the world. Of course, college was on the pier of my horizons, but it made me wonder, why couldn't we stay in those times? Why couldn't we stay in 2012?
Do you mean in terms of optimism and
Yes,
nostalgia? No.
yes.
Yeah.
It felt nostalgic to go back in that time because not a, like there were many stores that were around the city that aren't around anymore, and it brought me back to a time when it was just everything was just so easily accessible. It still is, but there was just even more calmer, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. There was less noise of
Yes.
uh culture wars
Mm-hmm.
and you're talking about the pre-Trumpian
Yes.
era
Yes.
um
Can we go back to those times, please?
without so much volatility. I know I know what you mean. It's why I love rewatching these shows. But Smash also does a lot in terms of I thought rewatching the pilot of cutting edge the like praying of the director wanting to sleep with the leading lady
Oh,
and what you'll
yes.
do to get to the top. And there's like some
Uh-huh.
offhand, off color jokes that are made, like about
Mm-hmm.
the transgender community, actually. Like,
Oh,
remember, there's a
yes.
line that Christian Borle's character says about did this certain person, oh, did the director have a sex change or not? Because even if they did, that person he's still an asshole. Or it was just like, but it was interesting how they're taking chances like that.
Yes.
And the Deborah Messing character, she does say, like, hey, that's not, stop it. Um, but I feel like now in our culture, it's why I do have an issue with a lot of TV right now, is they won't even have that, like those lines um where someone pushes the envelope, even though in everyday people do make offhand comments that are disrespectful. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
we do have to still represent reality. And that doesn't mean that the actor or the creative team is behind biases and prejudice.
You're right.
Like, that's why to me, Sex in the City, like they did a lot of risque things that
They did.
just, and just like that, I feel like they're trying to over censor what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes for a very different, I think the audience, we know, like you said, you know when someone is trying to get a political point across now.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different type of TV show, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
But
agree with
okay.
you 100%. Sex and the City had this sort of easiness, breeziness about it. Whereas nowadays, with Then Just Like That, it's so very one note.
Mhm.
It seems like, whereas if we're talking about Smash, that came out at a time when we could push the envelope and we could say these lines without being reprimanded or without feeling as if we weren't offending anybody. We were, but it wasn't so blatantly disrespectful where you would have letters pouring in demanding representation.
Well, and we also didn't have the social media machine.
No.
And I think that's really changed even our saturation level for certain material. Like that's why I say anyone who has to make a film or TV show or Broadway musical right now, right? They have a lot that they have to compete in terms of the consumer's attention. Like
Right.
to push the envelope, people, we've seen it all, really. So it's kind of very difficult to try to shock people now. So okay. So Smash, what did you think about um like walking through the episode with everyone?
Mm-hmm.
So, right, I forgot that we saw Karen. So Karen is Catherine McPhee's character and
Yep.
Ivy is Megan Hilty. That we see
Yep.
them in the same audition in the first scene. I didn't remember that opening.
I didn't either. But the
Yeah.
fact that Catherine McPhee chose to sing Over the Rainbow was a
Mm,
choice,
yes.
but it was um
Probably not a good audition song ever, but
probably ugh,
unless it's The Wizard of
not
Oz.
unless um but what I love about this is that um the whole compass of the show is that we're looking at an artist through a director's eyes. So whatever um like say that in the opening scene when we see Catherine McPhee's Karen Cartwright performing her audition piece, we see probably her own vision of how she would perform that song. And that's what I love about it, is that we're able to just get into the minds of these characters and just see how they interpret these performances.
Yeah. And for everyone who I always say is a loyal Ivory Tower Boiler Room subscriber on Patreon, you can actually see Christian and I have Smash artwork. He has the bombshell Marilyn Monroe, and I
I
have the
do.
Smash cast. So behind me is Catherine McPhee. Sorry, Catherine, my head is covering you. But and then Megan Hilty's over one shoulder. So we have foils of each other. Karen and
Yep.
Ivy are definitely foils. Karen is Midwestern from Indiana. Ivy, they don't specify, but she doesn't seem like she's from the Midwest. She seems like she could be from the Northeast or the New
Mm-hmm.
Jersey, New York. Like she knows the culture of theater. Um, and I really thought that that means this foiling these two women um being different sides of the coin is so important because it becomes the whole metaphor for Marilyn's life. Like the
Yep.
Norma Jean, Karen, and um the Marilyn Monroe Ivy. Like
Yep.
these how this Marilyn Monroe story is so hard to tell because she's always had a different persona. Like she was always part of some kind of artificial facade, like how she was going to present herself, even though her authenticity is not at all like what the consumer sees in the press. So, and they get into that right away. I loved how quickly the episode, as a pilot, it was one of my favorite pilot episodes.
I agree. Yeah. Not
Yeah,
that
yeah,
many pilot episodes can just go off with a hit or a bang or a smash.
yeah.
So will. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you think of the uh characters that we're introduced to right away? Like
Right away,
who
we're Right when we
Yeah,
were
go ahead.
introduced
Yeah.
to Ivy and Karen, two, like you said, two very different sides of the same coin. And then right after, I believe we're introduced to Deborah Messing and Christian Borle,
Yeah, and I should say
their
Deborah is
characters.
Julia Houston. Oh,
Yep.
that's funny.
Ah,
Okay, Angelica Houston, Julia Houston, Jack Davenport. Oh, is the director. Okay, but
yes, right here.
we'll get to him. But his name as the director is Derek Willis, and Christian Borle is Tom Levitt. There you go.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Then of course we have Ellis, that little skeeving little
Oh, the
person,
assistant.
the
Hmm.
assistant. I hate him. Sorry. Just had to get that out there because you're gonna hear a lot of that word with me and Ellis because I don't I forgot how much I hated that character. And I forgot that there were those types of characters in a TV show, that there's always that one character that's always conniving, that's always trying to be sneaky about his or her intentions. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
I forgot that those characters existed.
Well, and those characters are so real. I mean, in the acting industry,
Oh
there's
yes,
always
I can
someone who's
imagine.
manipulating.
And I'm sure
And
you've met a few of those Ellises yourself.
yeah, oh well, I should say to everyone, that's right. I mean, I have a musical theater background and was in regional productions in high school. Um, I was even in All Shook Up and got paid in like I think it was 25 performances. So I was going to major in musical theater. But I've taught the Broadway musical now as a professor. So, I'm making my loop. I'm actually thinking of auditioning again for theater and making my return, even though Norma Jean in Sunset Boulevard says it's not a return. I forget her actual line, but she doesn't like the word return. Um, because it's not as if she's disappeared. And I feel the same way. I've always been acting. But oh yes, I mean, I've met a lot of doozies of not just the actors, the production team. I had one show, well, I was in a show with I can mention her because she's an amazing director and choreographer. Renee Lisiaga, who's actually been on this podcast. She directed me in Smokey Joe's Cafe and Godspell with Main Stage, which was my South Jersey theater summer camp, but they're also a professional arts. They do acting, singing, dancing lessons, and they also do local regional productions. So I want to shout out to them because they're just incredible. And that's how I met Mary Christian. So in Main Stage. But Renee is the utmost professional. She like toured Andrew Lloyd Webber's Starlight Express in Germany. She like was in all of these Walnut Street Theater, which is a huge theater in Philadelphia, performances. She like I think was on Broadway as a standby. I forget Renee, but correct me if I'm wrong if you're listening, Renee. But she has so much experience and she was always so professional. And then I had this other director who shall be nameless, who like wanted to be everyone's buddy. He like I was underage or maybe 17 and he like invited me out to a bar and I'm like, no, I'm good. It was very inappropriate behavior. So I've seen the inappropriate, but then those who are, in my opinion, like Renee, who've had the industrial experience of professional theater and especially touring and Broadway, show up on time, take notes. Like there's certain etiquette. So it's that, but it is interesting to see Ellis to me, he's trying to really climb his way to the top. You can tell.
And he also claims, he will continue to claim, that Marilyn was his idea.
Mm.
When he said, "Oh look, there's a Marilyn Monroe book. You like Marilyn Monroe? Oh, that could make a good musical." And they said, "Tried it, flop." You know?
Yeah. But right, that's a real sticking point for people in the artistic world that who comes up with the origin story. And usually it's never one person. Like it's like podcasting. I always say there is never one, we're all borrowing ideas from each other. Like you're never going to do it the same way as someone else.
Yeah.
Because some people get really territorial and I just let that energy go. Like, don't be territorial unless someone takes your name. That's
Mm-hmm.
different. Mine is a small business, so you're actually legally you would be held responsible by me. And trust me, I'm ready if I'd have to enact a lawyer. But if someone wants to like do another Smash discussion, that's their artistic right. I mean, it's a community. I think creating a musical, it's a team. It's not one person. But there's always going to be someone who thinks it's only their idea
Yep.
or use that in a way to try to uh have a payday.
Yes.
You know, manipulation. Okay. So do you want to talk about the direct or the lyric? Actually, maybe Deborah Messing and Christian Borle, their lyric and lyricist composer relationship, because I love how they show this on the show.
I love it. It's like if Will and Grace were musical producers or musicalists. And that's what I see. It's just that's Grace as if she was a lyricist, and Will is the Christian Borle character who does the music. So it was just I love their relationship. It was so very like push and shove, and you'd have Deborah not really wanting to go along because at this time she's actually filing for adoption at this time, and she wanted to take a little bit of time off. But once she gets an idea in her head, it just she goes with it. um Meanwhile, you have Christian Boyle's character who wants to flirt with Ellis, not even sure if he's gay or not. um but their
Yeah.
relationship is just so charismatic, and it's so flowing with each other, and that's what makes them that's what would make them a good team together, and that's why I guess they would work so well together.
And it feels so humanistic because there is that impropriety. There is that blurring of boundaries that you so see in academia, theater, any industry with a lot of creative people, in my opinion. There also can be ethical blurring of boundaries because of passion projects. And with Ellis, with his assistant, um, we have Tom Levitt. Tom shouldn't be trying to fool around with his assistant. That's not
Hmm.
ethical, but he's going to try it anyway. So I feel like
Uh-huh.
that's the reality that I love of this series is this is wrong, but the questionable behavior is what makes it realistic. And
You're gonna get a lot of questionable behavior, just so you know, just as a spoiler. There's gonna be a lot of
oh
questionable
yeah,
behavior in
let's
this
just
show.
say um our director Derek will have his moments and already
Oh
does have a
yes.
moment in the
I
pilot.
mean,
So
I wouldn't kick him out of bed either, just saying,
well, so what do you think of, I think they've been around as lyricist and composer as a team
Yep.
for what, like 15 years? They have a lot of productions under their
They
belt.
do. And their fictional characters, they just did Heaven on Earth,
Yes.
that Broadway show that Megan Hilty is a part of in the ensemble.
Yes, yes. And it's like now going to be in the West End and it's so
Yep.
successful. So they have financial backing behind them. It's not like they're down on their luck songwriting team. Um, but it reminds me though of so many realistic relationships. I think especially because they are a male and female, I like that dynamic. A lot of the times, nothing against it, but you get a lot of male songwriting, composer lyricist teams. Mean we could name off Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein. Interestingly, Stephen Sondheim was usually solo.
Yep.
Um, so that's a rarity.
And then
Uh,
you have Ellen Macon and Howard Ashman.
Yes. But there is a female and male notable songwriting team. The ones who did Once on This Island. Um, we
Oh.
have, oh my goodness, Ahrens and Flattery. Um,
Oh.
Lynn Ahrens and Flaherty. Stephen Flaherty? Stephen Flaherty. Yeah. So book and lyrics always by Lynn Ahrens and music by Stephen Flaherty. So there you go. Just if you wanted to know if there is a male and female songwriting team out there for Broadway.
Wow.
They're the very well known ones. Ragtime, they did that as well. But we have a songwriting team here who's creating all the Smash music. Shout out to Mark Shaman and Scott Whitman, who also did
Yes.
Hairspray, um, Cry Baby the musical. Oh, they just did Some Like It Hot.
Yep.
Uh, I love their collaboration together. But okay, so yeah, that was me just fanning out. Um, do you want to hit the songs that we get in the pilot, or do you want to hit the questionable behavior with the director?
We can get into that a little bit later, but we can get into the songs about those are the amazing. Though I think those musical numbers are just amazing to watch and they just transport you.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
there
So
are a
which songs
few
do we
here.
get, Christian?
Well, right now in this first episode, we have a few. They discussed the baseball number, and they also discuss which one was the other one? Completely
Well, they
it's
discuss, yeah, so the baseball number is the national pastime.
yes.
And then they have Let Me Be Your Star.
Yes,
Ends the
at the very
episode.
end. I cannot wait to discuss that.
Oh,
That's
Never Give All the Heart. That's the other one.
oh yes.
That's the one
That was
about,
the the leaked recording.
oh,
That
yes, leaked by Ellis's mom, apparently.
uh-huh. Yeah, wink wink. That was
So Never Give All the Heart. Or maybe we should do it by Marilyn's, how it fits into Marilyn's life, right? So
ooh.
the national pastime is representing, that's the first song they're going to use for the backers, the producers. Like
Yep.
anytime there's a Broadway musical, you have to have an industry reading. And guess what? Smash just had an industry reading with producers. So this is before a workshop. Like, right, this is before you put the cast together who's going to be on Broadway. You need to get your financial investors. So usually they'll have like two or three songs, just like this is, sometimes they do the whole show. They did that for Carrie, but actually, I think the workshop was their financial backing. Sometimes that happens too. Um, so national pastime is when Marilyn is marrying Joe DiMaggio because he's a baseball
Yep.
player. Never Give All the Heart represents Marilyn's reading veracity. She was such a well-read person. She's
Yes.
quoting W.H. Auden's poem, I think. Wait, yes, I think so. I'll have to, no. Sorry, not W.H. Auden. He's a no, the Irish poet. Um, it'll come to me. Do you remember, Christian?
I do not. Oh my god. Hold on.
Wait, as the wise man once said, that's the beginning of the song. Um, Never give all the heart. Oh, William Butler Yeats.
Oh,
Yeah, I should know that. I love William Butler Yeats's poetry. He has a really good poem from the Greek myth, Leda and the Swan. But okay, so that represents Marilyn's Yeats's love of poetry.
yes.
But again, her complicated attitude towards men. Um, and then yeah, where do you think "Let Me Be Your Star" fits into Marilyn's life? Because that I feel kind of is the puzzle in all of this.
I would say maybe that would be in the 50s when she's starring in all these roles. Like, let's say, How to Marry a Millionaire, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Some Like It Hot, all those star vehicle films. I think that's probably where that would go probably before she starred in those films. So that would give her like a little oomph.
Yeah, and I just love "Let Me Be Your Star." I
I
feel
do. I do
I know
as
we're
well.
jumping to the end, but I think it like just frames the whole series that it was kind of like with Queer as Folk. We thought Brian and Justin looking the first time frames the whole series. I feel like Let Me Be Your Star just gives us um it gives us the context and it acts as a frame narrative.
It does.
Um but fade in on a girl with a hunger for fame and a face and a name to remember. Oh, this is Karen's part. The past fades away because as of this day, Norma Jean's gone. She's moving on. I just think that that works so well because
Yep.
Karen is also shedding her Indiana life and trying to
Mm-hmm.
really um, propel herself into Broadway
And speaking of
fame.
her Indiana life, you saw that we got introduced to her parents and her fiance,
Oh yeah.
played by Raza Jeffrey, who was gorgeous in every single way possible. Uh, and then we also saw like that classic parent trope of not believing that their kid is going to succeed in the industry that is Broadway or the industry that is show. And
Mm-hmm.
it still gets me where there are still those types of helicopter parents that still believe that just because their um their kid or child has starred in a Broadway show that they're not going to make it. That it's still that just because they did like these off Broadway shows that it's not worth it. That it's not that they need to start thinking realistically. And I wonder if you ever experienced that, or if you've known anyone else who's experienced those types of parents who still don't, you know.
Yeah, well, I think that a lot of me even doing this episode with you and having my show and my business is testament to having support from my family of being a creative because so many who don't have that support, they either have to go against their parents' wishes and just, you know, um, throw hell to the wind. Is that the saying? I think. Um, and they either do that and turn their back on their parents, or they go into a different job and they're so regretful. Um, I've seen a lot of people abandon their dreams, whether it be as writers, as artists, performers. Artists, I feel there's a lot, unfortunately, who've abandoned, they've left what they love because society has dictated that arts and culture is somehow not as valuable, even though everyone turns to it when they need something to do in their free time. You know what I'm saying? It's like the most in value, in my opinion, because everyone looks to the arts and culture to fulfill their dreams and passions. So, just putting that out there. Every industry is important, in my opinion, but you have to do what you're passionate about. Um, but no, my parents have been very passionate, which is why I can, now be here. Um, so yeah, but I'm so glad you brought the parents up. Um, and then Ivy also doesn't have support when her mom is on the phone with her. Like she says, I just got a call back from Marilyn Monroe. And her mom's like, oh, what is it? What's
Yeah,
happening?
she's like so dismissive of her, and it's sad that we believe that Ivy's this very up and happy-go-lucky character when she's dealing with these personal issues where her mother doesn't believe that she's good enough for either a show, or if she thinks that she's not valuable enough to put in her time. And you get those two sides of the same coin parents, and it's sometimes it can be a little bit disheartening.
Hmm.
And also it's sort of the price of the game that you play. Oh god, now I'm rhyming.
It's the price you pay. I think actually
Exactly.
that's a lyric in Let Me Be Your Star.
All right. I was like, wait,
Because I love
I
that
speak
section
a
when
car.
it's she'll have to pay, but not today.
Yep.
Um, because it's so true that Marilyn sacrificed her health in terms
Yep.
of the fame that she does receive comes at a cost of how the public dictates who she is. And we see that so much with social media and celebrity
Mm-hmm.
status that people think they know these public profile people and they don't give them the benefit of the doubt. That's why I'm always like, instead of wanting to attack someone for their opinion, like take a pause because you don't know how they're going to clear it up. Like you don't know where they were coming from. Again, there's like a degree of severity with what I'm saying. Um, but if there's an allegation of an affair, let it fall off your back. First of all, that's not my business, so I don't really care, to be honest. If someone cheats on someone else, that's on them. Like they have to work through that. Like I'm not going to pass judgment, but I also don't feel like it's time worthy. But speaking of affairs, though, uh, no, I did want to talk though about the family relationship because, like, you talked about the parents, but I also think it's interesting that we get Julia's husband,
Yes.
um,
Played brilliantly
played
by Brian R.C.
DRC,
James.
yeah,
Brian D.R.C. James,
who played Shrek,
who's a very
yeah,
famous Broadway star in his own right as well.
yeah,
I love
friend,
how they cast a lot of Broadway actors in this show, and it shows how much of a community it is. And that's what it
yeah,
is. That's what Broadway is at its core, is a community. And whenever they need someone, they're like, oh, we'll put Brian in there, we'll put Deborah in there, we'll put Megan Hilty, who I you know,
yeah. Well, and Angelica Houston
Angelica
has a
Houston.
career on the stage,
Yes.
like anyone who was involved. Well, Angelica's father
John
was a big
Houston.
time director,
Yes.
yes, in
Yes.
Hollywood. Um, so and I think he might have been really close to Steven Spielberg. I'm not sure, but I'm assuming. Um, but what I think is wonderful is the film people. There used to be such a separation between film and Broadway. And I feel like though now it's very mixed together, in my opinion. I think it's changed since when Smash came out. Like, do you think that there's more back and forth between the film industry and the Broadway industry in terms of casting?
I think, but at the same time, it's kind of that same trope with My Fair Lady when they had to choose someone, a big name to fill the role, and they chose
Mm.
Audrey Hepburn over Julie Andrews, which still, but anywho, we're not talking about that. Or
Yeah.
um
Christian's giving a look, everyone,
no,
just for since a lot of you are listening on audio.
like
But
she
that
had the
happens a
time.
it happens a lot. Yeah, but then Julie Andrews, like she said in interviews, she wouldn't have been Mary Poppins. So
Exactly.
things
Exactly.
all work out.
Yes.
And then she also is in The Sound of Music. So she took
Yeah,
Mary Martin's job from her,
she did.
away from Mary Martin. Um,
And then Deborah Kerr took Gertrude Lawrence's role in The King and I, but we're not going to talk about that because that's controversial now. So,
well, what I think is fascinating though is and we'll have to end with this,
yes.
as we're wrapping up, we should definitely end with what your speculation about the Smash musical coming to Broadway, what you think is going to happen, because I'm just curious.
Ooh.
But I mean, we've hit a lot of we've hit a lot of bullet points from the episode. Oh, but I just wanted to say the adoption story between
Oh,
husband and wife,
yes.
um,
Mm-hmm.
with the Houston family, not
Yes.
the Houston's Angelica
Not the
Houston, but this
Houston.
fictional Houston family. Um, is I thought it's so interesting how even when someone is so successful, like um Julia Houston, uh, who is a lyricist, that her husband even questions her passion project. So like
Yep.
I feel like there's always questioning when you're an artist. It doesn't matter
Yep.
how successful. Like Taylor Swift is questioned, Beyonce is questioned. So it's just, but are you always questioning physicists? I just think it's a different scrutiny. Um, okay. So I want to know, what do you think when Karen gets that late night message to come over to the director's place before the callback?
Ooh.
I was like, this is a HR violation in the works.
Yes. And yes. Uh, oh goodness. Try to quickly say what I think. It's it was very unorthodox and it was just so random, but also it just smelled so just suspicious to me
Hmm.
as to why Jack Davenport's character wanted to have a late night audition for Karen. Was it just to get in her pants? Was it just to find out if she has the guts to do this show? either both when we see it's both of those same options.
Or is it to see if she's going to put a line in the sand and reject him? And then, because you
Mm-hmm.
could see after she rejects him, like for everyone out there, she sings happy birthday in the Marilyn
Oh my
voice.
goodness, yes.
Um, but then she's like, keep dreaming, and then leaves. Because he thinks that she's going to kiss him. But
Yep.
then he has this smile of glee on his face, almost like, I mean, people do say that men always want to chase. There's this very gendered, you could say it's sexist, but I do think there's some truth to it, which is
Mm-hmm.
men always want to chase. And then once they have what they want, they discard the love interest, which hopefully doesn't happen if you're in a long-term relationship. But I do think either now he's thinking, oh, I'm gonna have to work harder to get her in my bed, or I'm happy she's not the sex kitten Marilyn. Like she's not
Uh-huh.
that idea of Marilyn. She's this more, she's the raw organic Marilyn. She's the
Yep.
one who reads Yeats and poetry. She's the intellectual. Because he doesn't see that about Ivy. He sees Ivy as the bombastic, voluptuous Marilyn. I mean, she's
Yeah.
even playing that up, Ivy.
Yes. And we even see that in the Let Me Be Your Star number at the very end of the show, which I want Megan Hilty stole. That's I'm just
Oh yeah, she has this beautiful fur stole. She has the glamour white dress, and but Karen, is in more of a Norma Jean pinup when Norma Jean was a model, when Marilyn
Yep.
was a
Did
model
you
before
notice that? You
Hollywood.
noticed that? You know?
Hmm. I was like, that looks like what Norma Jean modeled. Um,
Mm-hmm. And of course, she has
before
a
she had
signature little
blonde
mole
hair.
that she puts on it just to give it a
Yeah,
little
when she had
character.
when she had brown hair. Um,
Whereas you have Ivy, who's done up with a lot of makeup, and you have Karen, who just the only makeup that she has is that little mole that she put on the thing, and that's
yeah,
it. Of course, you have a little bit of eyeshadow and stuff, but you don't have. She doesn't have any lipstick on, and
yeah.
she's
So
just raw.
I think this is our a good transition to our ending, which is, do you need why Marilyn's story has been so hard for people to put on, whether it be, I had Elizabeth, we talked about on the podcast here. Everyone can listen to the Blonde movie, the novel by Joyce Carol Oates, and how that became a film. I thought we really liked Anna de Armas's performance as Marilyn, but so many are challenged when they approach adapting Marilyn because of all her nuances. Like they try to put her in how the men saw her, like how her
Mm-hmm.
ex-husband saw her, not who she was. And do you need two women to be Marilyn? Like they're kind of here showing us in Smash, these two women, these actresses represent different, like we've said, sides of Marilyn's coin.
Yep.
How would it be if there's only, let's just, spoiler alert, everyone, the two women last a long time in Smash, competing
Spoiler.
for the role of Marilyn. But do you think that when they put this on Broadway with Smash, I heard it's going to be 2 hours ish. I messaged Carrie Butler. Hi, Carrie. No, she's so, so sweet. I love Carrie Butler. Always have loved her since
So is this
Hairspray.
really happening? This
Yeah. Oh no,
show is happening
it's
on
in
Broadway?
production. Like they're starting to put it
Oh,
in production.
oh,
They're
okay.
starting the workshop process. So
Oh,
hopefully they've gotten the financial backing now. But Robin Herder, who was in Moulin Rouge, she was in Greece. I loved her. I didn't see it, but Robin, if she listens to this, I love her rendition as Marty. Yeah, Freddie My Love. She did the Freddie My Love part. Um, but they both were Karen and Ivy in this industry reading. So do you think it's just going to be, it's not going to be all the complexity of the Smash TV show? Do you think it's just going to be them putting on Bombshell? Is what I imagine.
I
Like,
think it is.
yeah,
I think maybe they're gonna um X off maybe some of the plot of the show, but they're gonna keep. I think they might want to keep I don't know what's happening, but I would imagine that they're gonna keep the heart of the show, which would be really great for those diehard fans.
Mhm.
of the
And the
show.
fantasy numbers. Like I
Exactly. I
imagine,
really hope that they keep those because you can't have Smash without those songs. You
well, I
can't
think
do
that
it.
and I think they'll probably I'm imagining that they're gonna like show us the creation of how to put on Bombshell and like it'll be like Let Me Be Your Star, but then you also
Hmm.
see it on the Broadway stage, like what it looks like in production. Like it'll
Like
be this back and forth.
I could see them opening up like that with both of those women in like an a cappella moment in the opening show. You have like a little bit of a light on them, but they're on two corners of the stage, but they're both singing like just like the opening lyrics of the show, and then they go into the show, and then at the end it's like a big number.
Yeah. Because I wonder if I thought they were gonna do Bombshell as its own musical,
That would
but
have been amazing.
I wonder if they thought this is really hard to have one actress, like to tell the whole story. And again, maybe I don't think there's anything wrong. What's wrong with having two actresses play Marilyn?
I mean, are they
Like,
going to do a Judy Garland when they did Me and My Shadows? They had Tammy Blanchett as young Judy, and then they had Judy Davis as older Judy. Just saying.
yeah,
Just saying.
that it's hard to put. I feel like that's hard to pull off.
Uh-huh.
On stage or in film. I mean, they're doing it with the color purple brilliantly. I think I can't wait for the color purple movie. Oh my god,
Oh my
I'm
goodness, I
so
can't
excited.
wait.
Um, but yeah, okay. So as we wrap up,
Yes.
last thoughts, like for our next, what's happening in the next episode? Like, what's your predictions here? What's going on?
Well, obviously they're gonna start casting for the show to see, and also continue with Angelica Houston's character to see of the financial backing. And hopefully they're gonna go on with the workshop of the show and get rehearsals going and see how it fares.
Yeah, and um, I feel like the pilot though gives us so much. Like
It
there's
does. It feels like a
so
short
many
movie.
layers.
It feels
It
like a short
does.
movie.
But you can see how every avenue is going to expand. I feel like I'm
Yes.
like, okay, that's where we're going to get an arc here. You're going to get an arc there. They do such a
Hmm.
good job laying
And they
the
all
bricks.
fold together perfectly. And that's what's really great about this pilot is that while you have each and every different plot A, plot B point, they all fold together magnificently and they all go together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fellas, that's from National Pastime, everyone. I just love that song. And wait, we have to end though with the National Pastime, which is
Oh no.
even though all these men are gyrating on Maryland, these are
Oh
the
boy.
most Las Vegas, and I mean this if Mark Shaman and Scott Whitman, anyone out there is listening, I mean this in the most complimentary way. They are the most showgirly baseball players I've ever seen in my life. Like, they should be in Elton John's concert. Like, I could see them all
Yes.
singing. Um, you know, Elton John had that baseball outfit. It looks exactly like that. Like when he was at the piano. Um, it's just because they're not intimidating. They're not supposed
They're
to be
not.
like
They're
they're
just
not
there for
supposed to
like
be
eye
predators.
candy.
Yes,
They're there for eye candy.
they're her show boys. You know,
Exactly.
she's the
They're her
star
backup
attraction.
dances.
Exactly, she's Cher, and they're just the dancers.
They're the
Um,
dances.
but I just love that number. And but again, even though it's so raunchy in a way with all the puns, it still shows her authenticity. Like it shows her
Yes.
smartness. Like she's very witty, and we're going to continue to see this in every one of her numbers. They're
Yes.
so good at showing Marilyn's complexity in how she sings
Yes.
and what she sings about, you know? Oh, I love that number. Okay. Okay, on that note, do you want to tease Christian what we can expect with the next episode?
But with the next episode, we have episode 2, which is entitled The Callback. So we have Ivy and Karen. They jump through hoops for the brilliant but temperamental director Derek, and they pursue their role. You still have Julia and Frank, Brian DeYoung James, frustrated by the red tape of an international adoption process, and Eileen fights to finance her new musical in the midst of an acrimonious divorce. So we're gonna get to see more of her ex-husband and You're gonna get a lot of drinks thrown in your face. So
I hope she
get
gets the
ready.
money. I just
Get
hope she
ready.
gets the money. That's all I hope. We need this.
Oh,
We need bombshell to happen, Christian.
we need it to happen. Can we manifest it? Can we? I think we
Yes,
can manifest it.
I hope so. And when Smash comes to Broadway, which I've heard it might be as early as the spring, maybe.
What? We're
Uh,
going. We're gonna
well,
we're
we're
gonna
gonna
do a
go,
little
Christian.
review.
We'll be
We're
there on
gonna
the
do.
grounds.
We're
I'm gonna
doing.
be
That's it.
there.
We're gonna be first row. Let's.
We're gonna recreate "Let Me Be Your Star" in Times Square. I love how they did that in Times Square. It was so good.
Oh my god.
And the subway, and then wait, we have to like. It was almost a Betty Davis. And who were the two women who feud in that movie?
Joan
Betty
Crawford and
Davis.
Betty Davis.
Yes. What is that film?
Baby Jean. Whatever happened to Baby
Thank you.
Jean.
Thank you. So,
Which I'll be
uh,
reviewing on my That Okay Classic Cinema podcast next
yes,
year.
Christian has a
So
podcast called That Old Gay Classic Cinema. You better get that promotion out there.
we're scheduled to
Okay.
release Psycho on Halloween. We'll
Yay. Okay. So soon, everyone get ready to listen to Psycho on his podcast.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, but they have this like moment of recognizing their rivalry, and then they like
Yes.
turn their backs away from each other. I just love that
I
moment.
love it.
Well, hopefully everyone out there, you have lots of fun with balls and bats, and you have your own national pastime dance planned.
Oh my goodness.
Well, thank you, Christian. I can't wait for your next episode, and hopefully, I'll see you all on Christian's next episode.
Yes.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.